I never thought I'd die 300 feet in the air. The ladder rungs are cold under my hands, even through the gloves. Each step up makes my thighs burn, makes my breath come harder in the thin November wind. Below me, the access hatch to the nacelle. That's what the manual called it, the nacelle, like some kind of spacecraft component, sits open, a dark square against the white fiberglass housing. Above me, another 60 rungs to the roof where I've built what might laughably be called a shelter, a tarp. Some 2x4s I hauled up here over 3 days. A sleeping bag that cost me $200 back when money meant something. That was 6 weeks ago. 6 weeks since I climbed up here with a backpack full of canned goods and a growing certainty that height meant safety. 6 weeks since I watched the cities burn from this perch. Since I saw the highways turn into parking lots of abandoned cars, since I realized that up here at the top of Turbine 7 in the Clearwater wind farm, I might actually survive. The wind hits me as I pull myself onto the nacelle roof. It always does. There's no getting used to it, not really. Up here, the wind is a living thing, a constant presence that shoves and pulls and never quite lets you forget that you're standing on top of a tube of metal and composite materials that actually sways, in strong gusts. The first week, I couldn't sleep. Every creak, every groan of the structure had me convinced I'd wake up falling, tumbling through 300 feet of empty air to the Wyoming grassland below. Now I know the sounds, the low hum of the generator, still running, still spinning, still converting wind into electricity that goes absolutely nowhere because the grid is dead. The rhythmic whoosh of the blades, each one longer than a semi-truck, cutting through the air in their endless rotation. The pings and ticks of metal expanding and contracting with temperature changes. The whistle of wind through the gaps in my shelter. I built the shelter in the center of the nacelle roof, away from the edges where a strong gust could turn me into a brief scream and a wet impact crater. It's not much. A frame of lumber scavenged from the maintenance shed at the base of the turbine, lashed together with climbing rope and zip ties, covered with a heavy-duty tarp that I've had to replace twice already when the wind tore it loose. Inside, there's barely room to lie down. My sleeping bag, my supplies, a battery-powered lantern. A camping stove I've used maybe 5 times because fuel is precious and I don't know how long this will last. The view, though. The view almost makes it worth it. From up here, I can see for miles. To the north, the rest of the wind farm stretches away. 47 turbines in neat rows, all of them still spinning because they're designed to run independently, to shut down automatically if something goes wrong. And apparently, the collapse of civilization doesn't count as something wrong. To the east, the frontage road that brought me here, empty now, except for the pickup truck I drove until it ran out of gas about 40 miles back. To the south, the town of Clearwater, population 2,300, or it was. Now it's population unknown, but I can guess. I've seen them moving down there. Not people anymore. Not really. West is just grassland. Rolling hills that go on until they hit mountains I can barely see on clear days. Sometimes I spot animals. Pronghorn mostly. Some deer. Once, a small herd of elk that must have wandered down from higher elevations. Life goes on for them. They don't know anything changed. Lucky bastards. I crawl into my shelter and zip the entrance flap closed behind me. The wind noise drops by half, which is the best I can hope for. My hands are shaking. They always shake after the climb up. And I take a minute to just breathe, to let my heart rate settle. I feel grateful that I made it up one more time. The backpack comes off. Inside, 3 cans of soup I found in the break room, a box of crackers, a warm 6-pack of Coke from the vending machine I finally figured out how to break into. It's not much, but the nacelle is full of supplies now. I've been stockpiling for weeks, every trip down the ladder a risk, every trip back up a triumph. I should explain how I got here, how I ended up living in a tent on top of a wind turbine in the middle of Wyoming. It wasn't the plan. I had a plan. The plan was stupid. 3 months ago, I was living in Denver, working tech support for a company that sold software to other companies, the kind of job where you spend 8 hours a day explaining to people how to reset their passwords. I had an apartment in Capitol Hill, a girlfriend who was probably cheating on me, a car payment I could barely afford, and a growing sense that I was wasting my life, but no idea what else to do with it. Then the news started. First reports were from Africa. A new virus, they said. Highly contagious, they said. The WHO was monitoring the situation. Standard stuff. We'd been through this before. Ebola, Zika, COVID. It would be handled. Except it wasn't. The videos started appearing online. Shaky phone footage from Lagos, from Kinshasa. People attacking each other in the streets, biting, tearing. The attacks looked wrong. Too fast, too vicious, too coordinated. Someone bit you, and within hours you were up and moving again, but you weren't you anymore. You were hungry. You were hunting. The government said don't panic. The CDC said they were developing protocols. The president said the borders were being secured. And then someone bit someone in Paris, in London, in New York. And the protocols didn't matter because you can't quarantine something that spreads this fast. Denver locked down on October 3rd. I remember the date because it was my birthday. 32 years old, and I spent it watching the National Guard roll down Colfax Avenue in Humvees, while my girlfriend, ex-girlfriend by then, turned out she was definitely cheating, called me crying, saying she was stuck at her parents' house in Aurora and couldn't get back. The lockdown lasted 4 days. Then the power started going out in sections. Then the water stopped running. Then the screaming started, building to building, block to block, and I realized that nowhere in the city was safe because the city was too full of people and people were becoming something else. I ran. I'm not proud of it, but I'm alive because of it. I threw everything I could carry into my Subaru and drove. North on I-25, which was already clogged but still moving if you were willing to drive on the shoulder, through the median, over the grass. State Patrol tried to stop people at first, then they gave up, then they disappeared entirely. I saw a cop car on fire outside Fort Collins. I saw people fighting over a gas station that had already been emptied. I saw a woman get pulled out of her Honda by 3 men who moved with that awful jerking speed that meant they weren't men anymore. I kept driving. I had maybe half a tank of gas and no plan except away from cities, away from people, away from the spreading infection that seemed to move like wildfire, jumping from person to person, turning civilization into a nightmare in real time. The truck died outside Cheyenne, just sputtered out on Highway 85, rolling to a stop on the shoulder while I screamed at it, pounded the steering wheel, tried the ignition over and over like that would somehow create gasoline from nothing. When it was clear the truck was done, I grabbed my backpack, hastily packed with whatever food I'd had in my apartment, some clothes, a first aid kit, a knife, and started walking. I walked for 2 days, stayed off the main roads after I saw a group of infected chase down a family trying to make it to a farmhouse. The family didn't make it. I hid in a ditch for 3 hours while the infected wandered around the area, searching for more prey. That's when I realized they weren't mindless. They hunted. They coordinated. They were intelligent enough to be terrifying. On the second day, I saw the wind turbines, just white towers rising from the grassland, blades spinning slowly in the autumn wind. I'd driven past wind farms 100 times and never really thought about them. But now, looking at those towers, I had a thought. High ground. The Clearwater Wind Farm had a small maintenance facility at its entrance. The gate was open. The facility was empty. Just an office building, a warehouse full of parts, some service trucks parked in neat rows. I found food in the break room, water in a cooler, a manual for the GE-25120 wind turbine sitting on a desk, which I grabbed because I had some vague idea that I should understand the structure I was about to climb. The turbines themselves are monsters up close. The tower is a tube of steel segments bolted together, 12 feet in diameter at the base, narrowing as it rises. 300 feet from the ground to the nacelle, the housing that holds the generator and gearbox, the brains and guts of the machine. The hub where the 3 blades attach sits at the front of the nacelle, and behind it, a small roof section that's technically not meant for human occupation, but is flat enough, wide enough, if you're desperate enough. I was desperate enough. The climb nearly killed me that first time. There's a ladder inside the tower, straight up through the center, with periodic platforms where you can rest. By platform 50, I couldn't feel my arms. By platform 70, I was crying from exhaustion. By platform 90, I had convinced myself I was going to fall, that my hands would slip, that I'd plummet down through the tower's hollow core and die in darkness. But I made it. I pulled myself through the access hatch into the nacelle, collapsed on the metal grating floor, and lay there for an hour just breathing, just grateful to be horizontal. The nacelle interior is cramped, a space maybe 30 feet long and 12 feet wide, packed with machinery. The generator dominates the center, a massive cylinder that spins and hums and generates power. The gearbox connects it to the hub and blades, hydraulic systems, cooling systems, computer controls that still blink with lights because the turbine has its own power supply, its own little ecosystem independent of the dead grid below. It's warm in the nacelle. The generator creates heat. The insulation keeps it in. After 2 days of walking through increasingly cold weather, the warmth was paradise. I stripped off my jacket, drank from a water bottle, ate a granola bar, and tried to think. I could stay here. In the nacelle, I'd be safe from the infected. No way they could climb the ladder. I'd have electricity for lights, for charging devices, though devices were increasingly useless with cell towers down and the internet gone. I'd have shelter from the weather. The only problems were food, water, and the growing certainty that living inside a humming mechanical tube 300 feet up might drive me insane. That's when I climbed the service ladder to the roof and saw the possibility of something more. The nacelle roof is actually accessible. There are anchor points for safety harnesses, a small guardrail around the perimeter. It's meant for technicians doing maintenance on the hub assembly. But it's also flat, open, and, critically, outside. I could build something here. I could make this work. The first week was hell. I climbed down the tower 3 times to raid the maintenance facility for supplies. Each trip, I loaded myself with as much as I could carry: food, water bottles, tools, lumber from a storage area, rope, tarps. Each climb back up with 60 pounds on my back made me question my sanity. But each successful trip meant more resources, meant better chances of survival. I built the shelter frame in sections, hauling up boards 1 or 2 at a time, assembling them on the roof with my heart pounding every time I got close to the edge. The wind up here is no joke. Gusts hit 40, 50 miles per hour on bad days. I tied everything down with multiple redundant lines, tested every connection, double-checked every knot. A mistake up here means death, either from falling or from losing my shelter and freezing when winter comes. Water was the biggest problem initially. I solved it with a system I'm weirdly proud of. I mounted a tarp at an angle on one side of the shelter to collect rain, funneling it into empty 2-liter bottles. Wyoming isn't exactly rainy, but when it does rain, I can collect gallons. I also found a water cooler in the maintenance facility that I've been gradually transporting up, bottle by bottle. 5-gallon jugs are brutal to carry up a 300-foot ladder. I've done it 7 times now, 7 trips that left my arms useless for days afterward. But I have 35 gallons of water stored in the nacelle, and that's survival. Food is harder. I've cleaned out the maintenance facility completely. Every vending machine, every forgotten lunch in the break room fridge, every emergency supply kit. I found a surprising amount. Someone had been prepping, had stashed canned goods in a filing cabinet. Bless that person, whoever they were. I hope they made it somewhere safe. I've also been raiding the town. That's where things get dangerous. Clearwater is 2 miles from the wind farm. 2 miles of empty grassland that offers no cover, no protection. I can see the town from up here, can watch the infected moving through the streets. They're still there, still hunting, still waiting for prey, but they don't stay active all the time. I've been watching them for weeks now, and I've learned patterns. During the day, most of them are dormant. They find dark places, inside buildings, under cars and basements, and they just wait. They're not asleep exactly, but they're not active either. Low power mode, conserving energy. When the sun is high, when it's bright out, I can move through town relatively safely if I'm quiet, if I'm careful, if I'm very lucky. I've made 6 trips into Clearwater. 6 terrifying expeditions where every sound might mean death, where every shadow might hide something that used to be human. I hit different buildings each time, houses mostly, grabbing canned goods from pantries, water from basements, tools from garages. I found a hunting rifle in one house, a box of ammunition in another. I found medical supplies in a bathroom cabinet, batteries in a kitchen drawer, a portable radio that I listened to once, heard nothing but static on every frequency, and never turned on again because the silence was somehow worse than not knowing. The infected in Clearwater number maybe 100, maybe more. It's hard to count them when they're scattered, hidden. The ones I've seen up close are wrong in ways that my brain still struggles to process. They move too fast when they're active, with this awful jerking efficiency. Their eyes are bloodshot, unfocused until they spot prey, then they lock on with laser intensity. They don't make much noise, no movie zombie moans, no roaring, just breathing, harsh and wet. And sometimes this clicking sound from their throats that makes my skin crawl. I saw one take down a deer once, about a month ago. I was watching from up here with a pair of binoculars I'd found. The deer was grazing near the edge of town. 3 infected came out of a building, moving in coordinated directions to cut off escape routes. They ran it down in less than a minute, moving faster than any human should be able to move. The deer didn't have a chance. They fed for a while, then dragged the carcass inside. That's when I realized they still need to eat. They're not supernatural. They're not undead. They're infected people, changed by something, a virus, a parasite, I don't know. But still biological. They still need calories. They still need water, which means they can starve. Which means if I can outlast them, if I can stay hidden and safe long enough, maybe they'll die off. Or maybe I'm delusional. Maybe they'll adapt. Maybe they'll figure out how to climb ladders. That's the nightmare that wakes me up some nights, drenched in sweat despite the cold. The image of one of them starting up the tower ladder, climbing with that terrible speed, reaching the nacelle while I sleep. But it hasn't happened. 6 weeks, and it hasn't happened. They don't seem interested in the wind farm. Why would they be? There's no prey here. No animals wander this close to the turbines. Something about the noise keeps them away. The infected patrol the town, hunt the area around it, but they don't venture out to the towers. I'm safe here, as safe as anyone can be. The sun is setting now, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. I eat dinner, a can of chicken noodle soup, heated on my camping stove because I have fuel, and tonight I want something warm. The propane canister hisses softly as the soup bubbles in a small pot. Steam rises, disappears in the wind. I eat slowly, savoring each spoonful, trying not to think about the fact that I have maybe 20 cans of soup left, 30 if I ration carefully, and no way to get more without risking another trip to town. The mathematics of survival are brutal. I count calories like a miser counts coins. An average adult needs about 2,000 calories per day to maintain weight. I'm eating maybe 200, sometimes less. I've lost weight. My pants are loose. My face is gaunt when I catch my reflection in the nacelle's control panel screens. But I'm alive. I'm functional. I can still climb the ladder, still haul supplies, still think clearly enough to plan. The stars come out. Up here, away from any light pollution, they're stunning. The Milky Way is a river of light across the sky. I can see satellites moving, tiny dots tracking across the constellations. Are they still functioning? Are there still people up there in the International Space Station watching the world fall apart below them, wondering if they'll have anything to come back to? I think about people a lot up here. My parents, living in Florida last I heard, but that was before everything. Are they alive? Did they make it somewhere safe? My sister in Portland. My college roommate who moved to Tokyo. Friends scattered across the country, across the world. I'll never know what happened to most of them. That might be the worst part. Not the fear, not the hunger, not the isolation, but the not knowing. The wondering if everyone you ever cared about is dead or changed or suffering somewhere beyond your reach. I had a girlfriend once who told me I was emotionally distant. She wasn't wrong. I've always been better at surviving than connecting, better at solving problems than dealing with feelings. Turns out, that's exactly the personality type you want for living alone on a wind turbine during the apocalypse. So thanks, Michelle. Your criticism of my emotional unavailability is literally keeping me alive. The wind picks up as full darkness settles in. I can hear it roaring across the grassland. Feel the turbine sway slightly beneath me. The blades cut through the air with their rhythmic whoosh, 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 a sound that's become so constant I barely notice it anymore. White noise, the heartbeat of my new life. I zip the sleeping bag closed around me, adjust the wadded-up jacket I'm using as a pillow. Sleep comes harder up here than it did before. Part of it is the cold. October in Wyoming gets down to freezing at night, and my sleeping bag is rated for 40 degrees. I wear every piece of clothing I have to bed and still wake up shivering. Part of it is the sounds, the wind, the turbine, the occasional creak or groan of metal that my paranoid brain interprets as something climbing up the ladder. Part of it is just stress, the constant low-level anxiety of knowing that I'm one mistake, one accident, one piece of bad luck away from death. But eventually exhaustion wins. My eyes close. My breathing slows. I drift off to the sound of wind and spinning blades 300 feet above the dead world in a shelter built from hope and desperation. I dream about grocery stores sometimes, walking down aisles packed with food, shelves full of everything I could want. In the dreams, I load a cart with steaks and fresh vegetables and bread that's still soft. I'm in the checkout line when I realize everyone else in the store is infected. The cashier looks up at me with bloodshot eyes. The other shoppers turn in unison. I run, but the aisles have become endless. I run and never escape. I wake to pale sunlight filtering through the tarp. Morning. Another day survived. Another day to survive. The morning routine is sacred because routine is what keeps me sane. First, check the shelter. Make sure nothing came loose in the night wind. The tarp is secure, the frame is solid, the tie-downs are tight. Second, check the supplies. I keep a mental inventory, but I verify it daily because mistakes are unacceptable. Third, water. I allow myself 1 liter per day for drinking and washing. I use a small amount to clean my face and hands, barely enough to feel human. Fourth, food. Breakfast is usually crackers and whatever I'm calling protein that day. Peanut butter if I'm lucky. A can of tuna if I'm feeling generous with my supplies. Fifth, survey the area. I crawl to the edge of the nacelle roof, staying low, and look out across the landscape with the binoculars. Check clear water for movement, for changes. Check the access road for vehicles, for people, for any sign that someone else survived. Check the grassland for infected that might be wandering closer. Check the sky for helicopters, for planes, for any indication that organized society still exists somewhere. The sky is always empty. The roads are always still. The town is always full of infected. Today is no different. I'm about to pull back from the edge when I notice something odd. There's smoke rising from Clearwater, a thin column of gray against the morning sky. It's coming from the north side of town, near where the highway used to be busy. Smoke means fire. Fire means... what? Accident? Lightning strike? Or someone? My heart rate kicks up. I adjust the binoculars, trying to zoom in on the source, but I'm too far away to see details. The smoke continues to rise, steady and thin. Not a massive blaze, not a building burning down, something smaller, controlled. Could there be survivors in town? Have I been avoiding Clearwater while other people were there, hiding just like me? The thought fills me with a confused mix of hope and fear. Hope because I'm not alone, because maybe there are others, because humanity hasn't completely fallen. Fear because people can be more dangerous than infected, because strangers might want my supplies, because trusting the wrong person could get me killed. I watch the smoke for an hour. It doesn't grow or spread. Eventually it starts to thin, to dissipate, like someone put out whatever was burning. Definitely controlled, definitely human. Decision time. Do I investigate? Do I risk a trip into town to make contact with potential survivors? Or do I stay here? Stay safe? Stay alone? The old me, the tech support guy who lived in Denver, would have gone to investigate. Would have felt a moral obligation to help other survivors, to band together, to rebuild some version of society. The new me, the one who's been living on a wind turbine for 6 weeks, is not so sure. The new me has learned that survival means caution, that the most dangerous thing you can do is assume the best of people. I decide to watch, to be patient. If there are survivors, they'll show themselves again. Smoke means they're not trying to hide. I'll observe for a few days, learn what I can from up here, and then maybe I'll consider making contact. The day passes slowly. Time moves differently up here. Without internet, without TV, without work or appointments or any of the structures that used to fill my days, hours stretch out. I've tried to create structure, set times for meals, for exercise, for maintenance tasks, but there's only so much structure you can impose on a life that consists of sitting in a shelter, waiting for the world to end or restart or something. I read. I found a few books in the maintenance facility, mostly technical manuals, but also a thriller novel someone left in the break room, and a water-damaged copy of Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance that I've read 3 times now, because it's the only real book I have. I'm starting to understand it, or think I am, which probably means I'm spending too much time alone with my thoughts. I exercise, push-ups, sit-ups, squats, bodyweight stuff I can do in the cramped shelter. Staying strong is survival. Being able to climb the ladder with supplies is survival. I do sets throughout the day, breaking up the monotony, keeping my muscles functional. I maintain the shelter, check ropes, retie knots, patch small tears in the tarp. I've become obsessive about maintenance because one small failure could cascade into disaster. A loose rope could let the tarp tear free in high wind. A torn tarp could mean exposure to rain or snow. Exposure could mean hypothermia. Hypothermia could mean death. Everything connects. Every detail matters, I think. God, do I think. About how things fell apart so fast. About whether there are still functioning governments somewhere. About what I could have done differently. About whether I should have tried harder to reach my family. About whether they'd even recognize the person I've become, the version of me who lives in a tent on a wind turbine and watches a town full of infected like it's a TV show. By afternoon, the smoke has stopped completely. No more signs of activity in Clearwater. Maybe I imagined it. Maybe it was just debris burning, some accident of chance. Maybe I want so badly for there to be other people that I'm seeing patterns that don't exist. I heat another can of soup for dinner. Vegetable beef this time, an upgrade from chicken noodle. As I eat, I count my remaining supplies again. It's become a compulsion, this counting. 22 cans of soup, 15 cans of vegetables, 8 cans of fruit, 6 jars of peanut butter, 3 boxes of crackers, 2 bags of rice. I haven't figured out how to cook with my limited water supply. Assorted odds and ends. Granola bars, packets of instant oatmeal, a jar of pickles I'm saving for a special occasion that will probably never come. At my current consumption rate, I have maybe 6 weeks of food. maybe 8 if I ration more strictly. After that, I'll need to make another trip into Clearwater, multiple trips, risky trips, or I could try to hunt. The rifle I found has 30 rounds of ammunition. There are pronghorn in the area, deer occasionally. I could shoot one from the base of the turbine, butcher it, haul the meat up. But gunshots would attract attention. The infected are drawn to noise. I've seen it happen. And butchering an animal is hard, messy work that would take hours, hours during which I'd be exposed, vulnerable. Or I could try to grow something. The nacelle interior has lights, has heat. I could try to sprout seeds, grow vegetables in containers. It's insane, probably impossible with the resources I have. But I've started thinking about it anyway because the alternative is admitting that eventually I'll run out of food and have no good options. The sunset tonight is spectacular, deep reds and purples bleeding across the western sky. I watch it from the shelter entrance, feeling small and temporary against the huge scope of sky and grassland. A few months ago, I would have taken a photo, posted it to Instagram with some caption about nature's beauty. Now there's no one to share it with. Beauty happens in silence, witnessed only by me and the infected shambling through Clearwater below. When full dark comes, I see lights in the town. This is new. For 6 weeks, Clearwater has been completely dark at night. No street lights, no house lights, just darkness and the occasional moon or starlight. But tonight, there are lights, small ones, flickering. Candles, flashlights. Someone is definitely there. Someone is alive and not infected and living in that town. The lights move. I track them with the binoculars, watching them pass from window to window in a house on the north edge of town. It's too far to see who or what is carrying them, but the movement is purposeful, methodical. Someone is searching that house. Someone is doing what I did weeks ago, looking for supplies, for food, for anything useful. Should I signal them? I have a flashlight. I could point it toward town, flash SOS, or just wave it back and forth to get their attention. But what if they're dangerous? What if they see my light and decide to investigate, find the wind farm, find me? What if there are more of them, and they decide they want my supplies, my shelter, my survival? I don't signal. I watch until the lights disappear, until Clearwater goes dark again. Then, I retreat into my shelter and lie awake for hours, mind racing with possibilities and paranoia. Over the next 3 days, I see more signs of the survivors. Smoke in the mornings, lights at night. Once, movement during the day. 2 figures, hard to see at this distance, walking down Clearwater's main street. They moved quickly, carefully, checking behind them constantly. Survivor behavior, smart behavior. I make a decision. I need to know who they are, how many of them there are, whether they're a threat or potential allies. And I need to do it carefully without revealing myself until I'm sure. On the 4th day after seeing the first smoke, I prepare for a reconnaissance mission. I load a small backpack with water, a few energy bars, the knife, the rifle, which I've been practicing with, dry firing in the nacelle to get a feel for the trigger. I dress in dark colors. I check and recheck my gear. The climb down is easier than the climb up always is, but still exhausting. 300 feet of ladder rungs, of hand-over-hand descent, of trying not to look down through the tower's hollow center. When I finally push open the ground-level access door and step onto solid earth, my legs are shaking. The grassland is quiet in the mid-morning sun. I can hear meadowlarks singing, can hear the wind rustling through the dry grass. Normal sounds, peaceful sounds, the kind of sounds that make you forget the world ended. I move carefully toward Clearwater, keeping low, using the terrain for cover. The 2 miles take me over an hour because I'm stopping constantly to watch, to listen, to make sure nothing is tracking me. By the time I reach the edge of town, I'm exhausted and jumpy from adrenaline. Clearwater looks dead. Most of the houses have broken windows, whether from infected breaking in or survivors breaking in, I can't tell. Cars sit abandoned in driveways, doors open, interiors filled with wind-blown debris. A gas station on the main road has been ransacked, the pumps ripped open by someone desperate for fuel. The whole town has the feeling of a place that died violently and fast. I move from cover to cover, behind cars, into alleys, through backyards. The rifle is up and ready, though I've promised myself I won't fire unless I have no choice. Noise equals death up here. I'm searching the north side of town, where I saw the smoke and lights, when I hear voices. They're coming from inside a 2-story house with peeling blue paint and a collapsed front porch. The voices are quiet, cautious, but unmistakably human. A man and a woman, I think, though I can't make out words from my position behind a dead hedge 30 yards away. I creep closer. My heart is pounding so hard I'm sure they can hear it. Every step feels too loud, every breath too obvious. But I get close enough to peer through a side window to see inside. 2 people. A man, maybe 40, with a thick beard and hollow eyes. A woman, younger, late 20s, with her hair pulled back in a severe ponytail. They're in the kitchen, sorting through cabinets, pulling out anything edible and stuffing it into backpacks. They move efficiently, like they've done this many times before. They look competent. They look armed, both carrying pistols and hip holsters. They look like survivors who know what they're doing, which makes them either perfect allies or dangerous competitors for resources. I'm trying to decide whether to reveal myself when the woman suddenly freezes. She holds up a hand, stops the man mid-motion. They both go silent, listening. That's when I hear it. The clicking sound, coming from somewhere close. The infected are here. I drop low behind the hedge, barely breathing. Through the gaps in the dead branches, I can see the woman and man inside the house react. They've heard it too. The man pulls his pistol. The woman moves to the window, looks out cautiously. The clicking gets louder. Multiple sources. At least 3, maybe more. They're somewhere between me and the survivors in the house, which means I'm trapped. If I move, they'll see me. If I stay here, they might find me anyway. The first infected comes into view around the corner of the house. It's a man, or was, wearing the tattered remains of a business suit, like he was in the middle of a workday when he got infected. His skin is pale, almost gray. His eyes are that terrible bloodshot red. He moves in that awful jerking way, head twitching as he scans the area. He's followed by 2 more, a woman in yoga pants and a tank top, a teenage boy in a high school letter jacket. All of them have that same predatory focus, that same inhuman intensity. They're hunting. They know something alive is here. Inside the house, the survivors have made a decision. They're moving quickly away from the windows, deeper into the interior. Smart. Don't give the infected a target. Don't let them see you. But I'm outside. I'm exposed. And one of the infected, the teenager, is turning in my direction, is looking right at the hedge where I'm hiding. Time seems to slow down. I can see every detail. The way his head tilts as he focuses on the hedge, the way his nostrils flare like he's scenting the air, the way his fingers flex like he's already imagining tearing into prey. He takes a step toward me. I have the rifle. I could shoot him. But the noise would bring more, would bring all of them. And I'd be trapped in a firefight with infected converging from across town. The teenager takes another step. He's 20 feet away now, 15. I can see the muscles in his legs tensing, can see him preparing to rush forward. 10 feet. A gunshot cracks out from inside the house. The teenager whips around, distracted by the new sound. The other infected do the same, all 3 of them suddenly fixated on the house. Another gunshot, glass breaking, shouting from inside. The survivors are fighting. The 3 infected rush the house, moving with that horrible speed. They hit the front door together, and I hear it splinter under the impact. More gunshots, screaming, the sounds of struggle. I should run, I should use this distraction to get away, to get back to the turbine, to stay safe and hidden and alone. That's the smart play, the survivor play. Instead, I find myself moving toward the house. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I've been alone for 6 weeks, and the idea of letting other people die when I could help feels wrong. Maybe it's because I remember being human once, being part of a society where you help people. Maybe I'm just stupid. The front door is broken open. I can hear fighting inside. Gunshots, crashes, the wet sounds of violence. I circle to the back of the house, find a rear door, test it, unlocked. I slip inside, rifle up, heart hammering. I'm in a laundry room. Beyond it, a kitchen. Beyond that, chaos. One of the infected, the woman in yoga pants, is down on the floor, not moving. The man with the beard is fighting the business suit infected, trying to keep it away with a bat while it grabs and bites at the air. The woman with the ponytail is on the ground with the teenager on top of her, his hands around her throat. She's losing. Her face is turning purple. She's clawing at the teenager's arms, but he's too strong, too single-mindedly focused on killing. I don't think. I just move. 3 steps across the kitchen, rifle butt swinging up, coming down hard on the back of the teenager's skull. The impact jars my arms. The teenager drops, stunned. The woman gasps, sucking in air. The bearded man sees me, his eyes widening in shock. The business suit infected starts to turn toward me, this new threat. I reverse the rifle, put the barrel against the business suit's head, and fire. The sound is deafening in the enclosed space. The infected drops. My ears are ringing. The bearded man is staring at me like I'm a ghost. The teenager on the floor is starting to recover, starting to push himself up. I step back, put the rifle on him. But the woman, still gasping for breath, pulls her pistol and fires twice. The teenager stops moving. Silence. Except for our breathing. Except for my ears ringing. Except for my heart trying to pound its way out of my chest. "Who the hell are you?" the bearded man asks. His voice is rough, scared, but there's gratitude in it too. "Just passing through," I managed to say. "Heard the shooting. You saved our lives," the woman says. She's rubbing her throat, which is already starting to bruise. "Thank you." Jesus Christ, thank you. We stand there for a long moment. 3 strangers in a dead town, surrounded by bodies that used to be people. This is what the world is now. This is what survival looks like. "I'm Marcus," the bearded man says finally. "This is Sarah. We've been holed up in a farmhouse about 5 miles east, been coming into town for supplies." "John," I lie, because I'm not ready to trust them with my real name yet. I'm staying nearby. "You're alone?" Sarah asks. She's studying me carefully, assessing threat level. Smart woman. "Yeah." "You have a camp? Supplies?" "Enough," I say vaguely. "You too?" "We've got a decent setup," Marcus says. "Farmhouse is defensible. We've got food for maybe 2 more months, water from a well." He pauses. "You could come with us, safer with numbers." The offer hangs in the air. It's tempting. 6 weeks alone has been harder than I want to admit. Having people to talk to share the burden of survival with, sounds like paradise. But I remember Michelle saying I was emotionally distant. I remember that I've never been good at trusting people. And I look at Marcus and Sarah, capable, armed, desperate. And I think about my shelter on the turbine, my supplies, my safe 300-foot-high refuge. "I appreciate it," I say, "but I'm good where I am." Sarah nods slowly. "If you change your mind, we're at the Callahan farm. East on Highway 85, you'll see the mailbox." "I'll remember," I say. We part ways awkwardly. They take what supplies they can carry from the house. I help them load up, then watch as they head east, moving quickly through the afternoon sun. When they're out of sight, I make my own way back toward the wind farm, moving carefully, checking constantly for infected. I don't see any. The gunshots earlier must have drawn them all to this area, and now they're dispersed again, dormant in dark places, waiting for the next prey. The climb back up the turbine is brutal. My arms are shaking from adrenaline crash. My legs are weak, but I make it, hand over hand, platform by platform, until I pull myself through the nacelle hatch and collapse on the metal grating. I helped people today. I fought infected. I was part of something briefly other than my own isolated survival. It felt good. It felt human. It was also terrifying. And now Marcus and Sarah know I exist, know I have a camp nearby. They seemed trustworthy. But people change. Desperation changes people. In a few weeks, when their food runs low, will they remember the lone man with the rifle? Will they come looking? I spend the rest of the day second-guessing everything, the decision to help them, the decision to refuse their offer, the decision to give them any information at all. Welcome to survival, where every choice might be the one that kills you, and you don't know until it's too late. That night, I lie in my shelter and listen to the wind and think about being alone versus being part of a group. Both have risks. Both have benefits. I've chosen alone for now, but I'm not sure it's sustainable. Humans aren't built for isolation. We're social animals. We need connection, need community, need to be part of something larger than ourselves. But communities also fail. They also turn on each other when resources get scarce. They also make demands and have expectations and require trust that can be betrayed. So I stay on my turbine, in my shelter, with my supplies, and my paranoia and my slowly eroding sense of humanity. Day by day, week by week, surviving. The weather turns colder as October becomes November. Frost appears on the nacelle roof in the mornings, a thin, sparkling layer that disappears by midday. The wind gains an edge that cuts through my layers of clothing. I wake up shivering more nights than not. I've started sleeping in the nacelle itself on the coldest nights, curled up near the generator where it's warmer. It's less comfortable. The metal grating is hard, and the constant hum of machinery makes quality sleep impossible. But it's warmer than the rooftop shelter. Survival is about compromises. I haven't seen Marcus and Sarah again. No more smoke from town. No more lights at night. Either they've stopped raiding Clearwater, or they're being more careful, or something happened to them. I tell myself I don't care, that they're not my responsibility, but I find myself scanning the eastern horizon with binoculars more often than necessary, looking for signs of activity at their farm. My food situation is getting critical. I'm down to 12 cans of soup, 8 cans of vegetables, 3 jars of peanut butter that I'm stretching out by eating literally 1 spoonful per day. The rice is useless without more water for cooking. The granola bars are gone. The crackers are stale but edible. I need to make another supply run. Multiple runs, probably. The thought makes my stomach clench with anxiety. I spend 2 days planning. I make lists of what I need, prioritizing high-calorie, long-lasting foods, canned goods, dry goods, anything that won't spoil. I plan my route through Clearwater, identifying houses I haven't hit yet, planning escape routes, memorizing the terrain. On the 3rd day, I descend the ladder with empty backpacks. I'm carrying 3, planning to stuff them full and haul everything back in one trip if possible. The morning is cold and clear. Good visibility. I can see for miles across the grassland. The walk to Clearwater takes 90 minutes. I'm moving slowly, carefully, stopping often to scan ahead. When I reach the edge of town, I pause for a long time, just watching and listening. No movement, no sounds except wind and a few birds. I start with houses on the south side of town, away from where I saw the infected last week. The first house yields nothing. It's been completely ransacked already, every cabinet empty, even the toiletries gone from the bathroom. Someone was thorough. The second house is better. I find 6 cans of soup in a pantry someone missed, hidden behind a stack of plates. I find a box of protein bars in a bedroom closet. I find a case of bottled water in a garage, and I nearly weep with relief because water has been weighing on my mind almost as much as food. I'm loading the water into my second backpack when I hear it. The engine. It's distant but unmistakable, a vehicle, somewhere in town, getting closer. I freeze. A vehicle means people. People means either survivors or I don't know what else it could mean, but my gut says danger. I move to the garage's side window, peer out carefully. A pickup truck is rolling slowly down Clearwater's main street, windows open, someone visible in the driver's seat. As it gets closer, I can see there are 3 people: driver, passenger, someone in the truck bed. They're not Marcus and Sarah. These are strangers. The truck stops in the middle of the road. The driver gets out, a big man in a hunting jacket, carrying what looks like a shotgun. The passenger follows, a thin woman with a crossbow. The person in the truck bed stands up, and I can see it's a younger man, also armed with a rifle. They're sweeping the area with their weapons, moving like a military unit. Organized, dangerous. "Check the houses," the big man says. His voice carries in the quiet morning. "Anything useful? Load it up. And keep your eyes open for those things." They split up. The woman heads toward a house across the street. The younger man walks toward the house next to the one I'm in. The big man starts walking directly toward my position. I'm trapped. If I stay in the garage, he'll find me. If I run, they'll see me. Either way, I'm outnumbered and outgunned. I make a decision. I slip out the garage's back door, into the yard beyond. There's a fence. I scale it quickly, drop into the next yard over. A dog barks somewhere, or I think it does, then realize it's probably infected, making some noise because all the dogs are dead or changed. I'm moving fast now, crouched low, cutting through backyards, putting distance between myself and the strangers. I can hear them behind me, their voices calling to each other, the sound of doors being forced open. I've left the water behind, left the food I found, left everything except the small backpack I'm wearing with my basics: water bottle, knife, handful of protein bars. All that risk, all that planning, for nothing. I'm halfway back to the wind farm when I realize they might have seen the turbines, might wonder if anyone's using them, might come to investigate. My safe refuge suddenly feels very exposed. I climb the ladder faster than I ever have, burning my arms and legs with the effort, not caring about exhaustion because I need to get up there, need to secure my position, need to be ready in case they come. When I reach the nacelle, I haul the ladder up behind me. It's designed to be retractable from inside, a safety feature in case of emergency. I've never used it before, but I know how. I trigger the mechanism, and the bottom 60 feet of ladder fold up into the tower, leaving a smooth steel surface with no handholds. Now no one can climb up. Not without specialized equipment, not without flying. I'm safe, but I'm also truly trapped. If those strangers decide to camp at the base of the turbine, I can't leave. I can't get more supplies. I can only wait them out and hope they leave before I starve. I spend the rest of the day watching them through binoculars. They work through Clearwater methodically, loading the truck with supplies. They are efficient, professional. They've done this before. By late afternoon, the truck bed is full. They drive away heading north, and I don't relax until they're completely out of sight. But they'll be back. People who are that organized, that well-armed, they're not just passing through. They have a base somewhere. They're raiding systematically. Clearwater is in their territory, which means this wind farm is in their territory, which means eventually, inevitably, they'll come here. I need to be ready. I need more supplies. I need more weapons. I need a plan that doesn't involve hoping they don't notice the 300-foot tower with a visible shelter on top. That night, I have a new nightmare. Not the grocery store this time. This time, I dream that the strangers are at the base of the turbine. They've brought equipment, scaffolding, ladders, climbing gear. They're building a way up. I watch from the nacelle as they construct their path, unable to stop them, unable to do anything but wait for them to reach me. In the dream, when the first one pulls himself up through the access hatch, he has the face of the infected. They all do. Every stranger I've met has bloodshot eyes and clicking throat sounds. I wake up gasping, covered in sweat despite the cold. The sun is just rising. Another day. Another 24 hours of surviving and trying not to think about how it's going to end. I make a decision. I can't wait for those strangers to come back. I can't wait for my food to run out. I need to be proactive. I need to secure more supplies while I still have energy, while I still have strength to climb with weight on my back. Which means I need to raid Clearwater again. Soon, before the strangers return, but smarter this time, more prepared, with an escape plan. I spend 3 days preparing. I make a backpack specifically designed for the climb, distributing weight evenly, padding the straps, testing it by loading it with water bottles, and carrying it up and down the internal ladder of the turbine. I scout Clearwater for hours with binoculars, marking which houses look untouched, which areas seem to have the least infected activity, which routes offer the best cover. I extend the ladder again on the 4th day. It takes me an hour to figure out the mechanism. It's designed to be simple from inside, but there are safety interlocks I have to manually override. When I finally get it working, the ladder section slides down with a metallic screech that makes me cringe. If anyone's watching, they just got a signal that someone's here. No one appears. The grassland remains empty. I breathe out slowly and start the descent. The plan is simple. Hit 3 houses on the west side of Clearwater, closest to the wind farm. Grab what I can in 30 minutes. Get out. Don't engage. Don't explore. Don't take risks. In and out. The first house is a bust, completely empty, even the copper pipes torn out of the walls by someone desperate for anything valuable. The second house yields a bonanza. Someone's emergency supply closet, untouched. 20 cans of various foods, a case of bottled water, a first aid kit that's fully stocked. I load everything into my pack, feeling the weight settle on my shoulders. It's heavy. Maybe too heavy for the climb back, but I'll manage. I have to. I'm in the 3rd house, searching the kitchen, when I hear the clicking. It's close, inside the house, coming from upstairs. I freeze, every muscle locking up. I've been making noise, opening cabinets, moving cans. I've drawn attention. The clicking gets louder. Footsteps on stairs. Something is coming down. I spot it through the kitchen doorway. An infected woman in a nightgown moving down the stairs in that jerking way. Her eyes lock onto me. Her mouth opens, and that clicking becomes a hiss. She's fast. Faster than I expected. She covers the distance from the stairs to the kitchen in seconds. I backpedal, knocking over a chair, reaching for my knife because the rifle is slung on my back and there's no time to unsling it. She hits me like a linebacker. Both of us going down in a tangle. Her hands are grabbing for my face, my throat. Her teeth are snapping inches from my nose. I get the knife up, jam it into her side, but she doesn't react to pain. She just keeps attacking, kept trying to bite, to tear. I roll, get on top of her, get leverage. The knife goes in again, higher this time, angled up toward where I hope her heart is. She spasms. Her hands claw at my jacket. Then she goes still. I push away, scrambling backwards until I hit the far wall. My heart is trying to punch through my ribs. My hands are shaking so badly I can barely hold the knife. The infected woman lies on the kitchen floor, bleeding out onto worn linoleum. She's dead. Actually dead this time. I killed her. I killed what used to be a person who lived in this house, who probably woke up here one morning not long ago and made breakfast and had no idea that the world was about to end. I'm gonna throw up. I lean over, retch, but nothing comes up. Just dry heaves, just shock working its way through my system. When I can move again, I get up. I clean my knife on a dish towel. I check myself for bites, for scratches, for any exposure to infected blood. I'm okay. Bruised, terrified, but okay. I take what supplies I found and leave Clearwater, moving fast, not caring about stealth anymore. I just need to get back to the turbine, back to safety, back to the only place that makes sense in this insane world. The climb up with the heavy pack is agony. My arms are trembling by platform 30. By platform 60, I'm stopping every 10 rungs to rest. By platform 90, I'm climbing on pure, stubborn will. refusing to fall, refusing to give up when I'm this close. When I finally pull myself through the nacelle hatch, I collapse on the metal grating and lie there for an hour, just breathing, just being grateful I made it. That was too close. Way too close. One bite and I'd be infected. One scratch and I'd be one of them, wandering Clearwater with bloodshot eyes and clicking throat and hunger that could never be satisfied. I can't keep doing this. I can't keep raiding town, keep risking exposure, keep gambling with my life for cans of soup. There has to be another way. But I don't know what it is. Winter is coming. The frost on the nacelle roof lasts longer each morning. The wind has teeth now, cutting through every layer I wear. I've started to see my breath inside the shelter at night. My water collection system freezes over. I have to break ice to get to the bottles underneath. I ration more strictly. 1 can per day, sometimes split across 2 days. Peanut butter stretched so thin on crackers I can barely taste it. Water limited to 3/4 of a liter daily, supplemented by melted ice when I can collect it. I'm losing weight faster now. My belt is on its last hole. My face is gaunt and hollow when I catch glimpses of it in the nacelle's reflective surfaces. I look like the survivors I've seen in movies, the ones near the end, who are clearly not going to make it. Is this it? Is this how I die? Not bitten by infected, not killed by strangers, but just slowly starving on top of a wind turbine because I was too scared to find a better solution? On a gray afternoon in mid-November, I make a decision. I'm going to the Callahan farm. I'm going to find Marcus and Sarah. I'm going to ask for help, for trade, for whatever alliance we can make. Because surviving alone isn't working. Because I need other people, even if they're risky. Because the alternative is dying alone on this tower, and I'm not ready for that yet. The climb down is routine now, which is terrifying in its own way. I've gotten so used to scaling 300 feet of ladder that it barely bothers me. What would the Denver version of me think of that? The guy who was scared of heights, who got dizzy on hotel balconies? The walk east toward the Callahan farm takes 3 hours. I'm moving slowly, conserving energy, scanning constantly for threats. The grassland is dead and brown now, winter killed, crunching under my boots. A few hawks circle overhead, looking for prey that's growing scarce. Everything is hunkering down for winter. Everything is trying to survive. The farm appears gradually. First, a windmill rising above the hills, then a cluster of buildings coming into view. House, barn, a few outbuildings, fences marking off pastures that probably held cattle once, a long gravel driveway leading from the highway to the house. I approach carefully, watching for signs of life. Smoke rises from the chimney. Good, they're here. A truck is parked near the barn. Looks like the same one I saw them driving in town. No movement visible, but they're smart enough to stay inside during daylight. I'm 50 yards from the house when a voice calls out. That's far enough. I stop. Look around. Can't see the speaker. Put your rifle on the ground, the voice says. It's Marcus, I think. Coming from somewhere to my right, I carefully unsling the rifle, set it down. It's John, I call back. From Clearwater. You guys offered to let me join you. A pause. Then, step away from the rifle. Hands where I can see them, I comply. Step back 10 paces, hands raised. Marcus emerges from behind an old tractor, shotgun aimed at my chest. He looks thinner than when I saw him last, more worn. Sarah appears from the house, also armed. John, Marcus says slowly. Didn't expect to see you again. Didn't expect to come, I admit. But my situation has gotten complicated. I could use some help, or trade. I have some supplies to offer. Sarah studies me. You look like shit. Thanks. You should see the other guy. Marcus doesn't lower the shotgun. Where's your camp? Does it matter? Yeah, it matters. We need to know who's in our territory, where they're set up, what kind of numbers we're dealing with. I'm alone, I say. Still alone? My camp is secure, but I'm running low on food. I thought maybe we could work out some kind of arrangement. What kind of arrangement? Sarah asks. I don't know. Trade? I have electricity at my camp. I could charge batteries, power tools, whatever you need, in exchange for food, for backup, for information about what's happening out here. Marcus and Sarah exchange a look. Some kind of silent communication passes between them. We're not exactly flush with supplies ourselves, Marcus says finally. Winter's coming, and we've got enough for maybe 3 months if we're careful. Adding another mouth, he trails off, but the implication is clear. I'm not asking to join you permanently, I say. Just asking for trade, for cooperation. There are other groups out here. I've seen them. Armed groups raiding towns. We're better off working together than competing. We've seen them too, Sarah says quietly. The raiders. They hit Clearwater 2 weeks ago, cleared out most of what was left. They're organized. Military maybe, or people with military training. They came here, I ask. Not yet, but they're working their way through the area. It's only a matter of time. We stand there in the cold afternoon, 3 survivors trying to decide if trust is more dangerous than isolation. Come inside, Marcus says finally, lowering the shotgun. Let's talk, but try anything and Sarah will put a bullet in you. She's a better shot than I am. Noted, I say. The farmhouse interior is warmer than I expected. They've got a wood stove going and they've insulated the windows with blankets and plastic sheeting. It's not comfortable, but it's livable. Survival isn't about comfort. We sit around a kitchen table covered with maps, supply inventories, and handwritten notes. They've been planning, organizing, trying to stay ahead of disaster. Over the next hour, we share information. They tell me about the raiders, a group of maybe 15 people operating out of somewhere north, systematically clearing towns, taking everything useful. They tell me about other survivors they've encountered. A family holed up in an old school, a couple living in a bunker they built years ago for Y2K, a lone man living in a water tower who won't talk to anyone. I tell them about the wind turbine, about my shelter, about the electricity, about the strategic advantages of height. They're impressed despite themselves. You're living on top of a turbine, Sarah asks. How the hell do you manage that? Very carefully, I say. The climb is brutal, but it keeps me safe. Nothing can reach me up there. Except winter, Marcus points out. Except cold and wind exposure. You'll freeze to death up there. Maybe, I admit. That's why I'm here. We negotiate. They'll share some of their food stores. Not much, but enough to get me through another month. In exchange, I'll provide a lookout position. From the top of the turbine, I can see for miles. I can watch for raiders, for infected hordes, for any threats approaching. I can signal them with a mirror during the day, a flashlight at night. Early warning system. It's not a perfect arrangement, but it's something. It's cooperation. It's the beginning of trust, however fragile. I leave the Callahan farm at dusk with a backpack containing 10 cans of food, a bag of rice, some dried beans, a box of ammunition for my rifle. It's not much, but it's a lifeline. And more importantly, I'm not alone anymore. I have allies. People who might help if things go bad. People who are invested in my survival because I'm useful to them. The walk back to the wind farm takes me through darkness. Risky, but necessary. I can't spend the night at the farm, can't be away from my supplies, my shelter. So I navigate by moonlight and hope, moving slowly across the grassland, the turbine's blinking red aircraft warning light my beacon. When I finally reach the tower and start the long climb up, I'm exhausted, but something close to hopeful. Maybe I can make this work. Maybe I can survive the winter. Maybe being human means finding other humans, even when it's scary, even when trust is dangerous. The shelter is freezing when I crawl inside. I eat a cold dinner, don't want to use fuel for the stove tonight, and burrow into my sleeping bag fully clothed. Tomorrow, I'll start my role as lookout. Tomorrow, I'll start earning my keep in this fragile alliance. Tomorrow, I'll keep surviving day by day because that's all any of us can do. December arrives with snow. Not a lot. Wyoming winters are cold but often dry, but enough to make everything harder. The ladder rungs are slick with ice some mornings. The wind becomes a living knife. My water collection system stops working entirely because everything freezes solid. I spend my days watching, scanning the landscape with binoculars, looking for threats, for raiders, for any changes in the pattern of infected movement. I've gotten good at this, learned to spot anomalies, to notice when something is wrong. Twice, I signaled the Callahan farm about raiders in the area. Once about a large group of infected moving south from some failed settlement. Each time, Marcus and Sarah respond with thanks and information of their own. We're building a network of survival, fragile as spider silk, but better than nothing. I make it through December, through January. The food from the Callahan farm gets me to February, supplemented by strict rationing and a desperation that's become my default state. I've lost more weight. My hands shake from malnutrition. Sometimes I'm so weak from the climb that I have to rest for hours before I can do anything else. But I'm alive, against all odds. Despite every mistake, I'm still alive. On a clear morning in late February, I see something that changes everything. I'm doing my usual surveillance, scanning the landscape, when I notice aircraft. Not helicopters, something bigger. A cargo plane, flying low, heading southeast. It's the first aircraft I've seen since October. I watch it disappear over the horizon, heart pounding. A plane means infrastructure, means fuel, means organization, means maybe, possibly, someone is putting things back together somewhere. That night, I signal the Callahan farm with a pattern we established for important news. The next morning, Marcus and Sarah make the trip to the Wind Turbine, their first visit to my home. They climb the ladder, which takes them over an hour, and emerge into the nacelle, white-faced and shaking. "You live up here," Sarah gasps. "You climb this every time you need supplies?" "You get used to it," I lie. We sit in the nacelle, in the warmth of the generator, and discuss the plane, what it means, where it might have been going, whether we should try to find out, or whether we should stay hidden, stay safe, stay in our small bubble of survival. "The raiders," Marcus says finally. "They've been getting more aggressive, more organized, like they're being directed by someone with actual military experience. What if there's a government remnant? What if someone's trying to rebuild and they're using people like those raiders as scouts, as forward units? Or what if the raiders are just raiders?" Sarah counters. "And the plane is completely unrelated. Military evacuation or supply run that has nothing to do with us. We don't know. We can't know. All we can do is keep watching, keep surviving, keep hoping that eventually things will get better, even if we have no reason to believe they will." They leave before dark, the climb down even worse than the climb up. I watch them walk back toward their farm, two figures against the vast brown grassland, and I feel a strange mix of gratitude and sadness. Grateful I'm not alone. Sad that survival means everyone stays fractured, isolated, scared to commit to anything more than temporary alliances. Winter breaks slowly, grudgingly. March brings slightly warmer temperatures, though the wind never stops. April brings rain, which I collect frantically in every container I have. May brings green shoots pushing up through the dead grass, brings birds returning, brings the sense that the world hasn't completely died, that life continues in its cycles regardless of human disaster. I've been living on this turbine for 7 months. 7 months of climbing, rationing, watching, surviving. I'm not the same person who drove out of Denver in panic last October. That person was soft, uncertain, unprepared for reality. This person, the one who lives in a tarp shelter 300 feet up, who kills infected without hesitation, who has learned to be alone without going insane. This person might actually make it. The infected are fewer now. Either they're dying off from starvation, or they're migrating to areas with more prey, or I'm just lucky. Clearwater is nearly empty. I've counted maybe a dozen infected still wandering the streets, down from hundreds. The ones that remain are slower, weaker. Evolution in action, or just the inevitable end of a dead-end infection. The raiders are still active. I see their trucks once or twice a month, always moving, always searching. But they haven't come to the wind farm. Maybe it looks too hard to access. Maybe they assume anything up here has already been cleared out. Maybe I've just been lucky. In June, something changes. I'm doing my morning surveillance when I notice a new structure near the Callahan farm, a tower of some kind, crude but visible. It takes me a minute to realize what I'm seeing. They're building a radio antenna. That night, they make contact via the signal system, short flashes. We need you. Come when safe. I descend the turbine the next morning, make the walk to the farm. Marcus and Sarah are waiting, both of them barely containing excitement. "We got a radio working," Marcus explains, leading me to the barn where they've set up equipment scavenged from God knows where. "Ham radio. We've been listening for weeks, heard nothing. Then, yesterday," he flips a switch. Static fills the barn. Then, faint but unmistakable, a voice. Emergency broadcast. This is a civil authority message. Safe zones have been established in the following locations: Denver metro area, protected encampment at former Air Force Academy. Cheyenne, provisional government at F.E. Warren Air Force Base. Montana settlements near Great Falls and Missoula. Radio frequencies for contact are... The message repeats. I stand there listening, barely breathing. Safe zones. Government. Organization. Society didn't completely collapse. Humanity is rebuilding. Denver's only about 100 miles south, Sarah says quietly. If there's really a safe zone there, it could be real, Marcus finishes. Or it could be a trap. Raiders could be broadcasting false signals to draw survivors in. We debate for hours. The risk versus reward. The possibility of finally being safe versus the certainty that the journey would be dangerous. Do we go? Do we stay? Do we try to make contact before committing? In the end, we decide to wait, to observe, to use the radio to listen, to gather more information before making a choice. But for the first time in 8 months, I feel something like hope. Real hope, not just the desperate hope of surviving another day, but the hope that maybe things could actually get better. I returned to the wind turbine that evening, climbed the ladder with slightly less weight on my shoulders. Despite the heavy backpack of supplies they insisted I take, crawl into my shelter and lie there looking at the stars. 8 months ago, I thought the world had ended. And it did, in a way. The world we knew is gone. The cities, the infrastructure, the casual certainty that civilization would continue. All of that is gone. Maybe forever. But people remain, stubborn, adaptable, impossibly resilient people who refuse to give up, who find ways to survive, who build communities in the wreckage. People like Marcus and Sarah. People like me, I guess. Though, I still don't know if I'm surviving or just postponing the inevitable. The turbine sways slightly in the evening wind. The blades whoosh overhead. The generator hums its constant song. 300 feet below, the grassland stretches away in all directions, indifferent to human drama, continuing its own cycles. I made it through winter. I made it through 8 months of isolation and fear and slow starvation. I learned to be alone, learned to survive, learned that I'm stronger and weaker than I thought in different ways. Tomorrow I'll wake up and do it again. I'll watch for threats. I'll ration my supplies. I'll maintain my shelter. I'll signal the Callahan farm if I see anything important. I'll continue the routine that's kept me alive. And maybe eventually I'll climb down from this tower for the last time. Maybe I'll make the journey south to Denver, to the safe zone, to whatever remnant of civilization still exists. Maybe I'll find out if Marcus and Sarah are willing to risk it, if we're strong enough as a group to make it through the infected and the raiders and whatever else stands between here and there. Or maybe I'll stay here, on my turbine, in my shelter, watching the world from 300 feet up. Safe, isolated, alive in the narrowest possible sense. I don't know. The future is uncertain, always was, even back when we all pretended we had control over it. All I know is right now, in this moment, I'm alive. I'm surviving. And that's enough. That's all any of us can do. The wind picks up as true darkness settles in. I pull the sleeping bag tighter, close my eyes, and let the sounds of the turbine lull me towards sleep. 300 feet above the dead world, in a tent made of hope and desperation, I survive another night. And tomorrow, I'll do it again. Because that's what survival means. Not some dramatic victory or heroic rescue, just the stubborn refusal to give up day after day, until either you make it through or you don't. I've made it this far. 8 months, through the initial panic, through the infected, through winter, through isolation that would have broken the person I used to be. I'll make it tomorrow too, and the day after that. One day at a time, one climb at a time, one can of soup at a time, until whatever comes next, until I'm ready to face it, or until I'm not, and this shelter becomes my tomb, and some future survivor finds my skeleton in a tarp tent on a wind turbine and wonders what the hell I was thinking. But that's tomorrow's problem. Tonight, I'm alive. Tonight, the stars are brilliant overhead, and the wind is singing through the turbine blades, and I'm as safe as anyone can be in a world that's fallen apart. Tonight, that's enough. It has to be.